The stars outside the panoramic viewport of the Vanguard Ascendant were not sparkling pinpricks of hope, but chilling witnesses to an encroaching, universal nightmare. Captain Xylos, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the grim light of the tactical display, felt the familiar knot of dread tightening in his chest. Below, the once vibrant gas giant of Vorlag VI, jewel of the Zenith Coalition's outer reach, was rapidly becoming a swirling maelstrom of sickly emerald and rust brown. The Chitin Scourge was upon them. For cycles, the Zenith Coalition, a confederation of 17 peaceful species spanning 1,000 systems, had believed themselves unassailable. Their philosophy was one of harmonious advancement, their technology designed for exploration, trade, and defense. Never for total war, not against something so utterly alien, so devoid of logic or reason. The Chitin Scourge was not an empire, not a rival, but a biological imperative made manifest. It consumed, it adapted, it spread. They appeared from hyperspace as shimmering, organic mechanical constructs, vast as planetary rings, each one a self-replicating factory of smaller, agile combat forms. Lasers, plasma lances, disruptor cannons, none of the Coalition's conventional armaments proved truly effective. A direct hit might cleave through their chitinous plating, but the breach would immediately begin to seal, fibrous strands weaving themselves together, stronger than before. If a Coalition vessel fell, it was instantly devoured, its raw materials assimilated into the Scourge's ever-growing mass. "Report tactical!" Xylos's voice, usually a calm baritone, was edged with a tremor he couldn't quite suppress. His species, the Virin, valued composure above all, but this was beyond composure. "Captain, the orbital defense grid is at 47% integrity. Scourge formations are breaching the inner atmosphere. Planetary shields are holding for now, but not for long. We're detecting localized atmospheric consumption beginning in sectors Gamma 7 and Xi Prime," came the clipped response from Commander Tail, his crystalline carapace flickering with agitation. Consumption. It was the Coalition's most terrifying word these days. Entire ecosystems, oceans, even planetary crusts reduced to raw biomass for the Scourge's inexorable expansion. "Casualties?" "Minimal for now, Captain. Civilian evacuations are 92% complete from the major population centers. The remaining ships are focusing on holding the line for the final shuttles." A thin comfort. The line was a sieve. For months, the Coalition had been pushed back, system by system, fleet by fleet. Their renowned ingenuity, their collective intelligence, seemed utterly useless against an enemy that felt no pain, possessed no discernible command structure, and whose only objective was total absorption. They were fighting an epidemic, not an army, and the epidemic was winning. Xylos slammed a fist against his command console, the gesture utterly un-Virin. "There has to be another way. We've thrown every countermeasure, every experimental weapon, nothing." "Captain," interjected Ensign Lyra, the youngest member of his bridge crew, her telepathic aura a tight ball of apprehension. "Nav scans indicate a faint, repeating signal from the outer rim, System 7 Alpha 9. It's impossible, ancient, not on any current Coalition chart." Xylos swiveled, his multi-lensed eyes narrowing. "Impossible how, Ensign? Is it a probe, a derelict?" "Neither, Captain. The energy signature is unlike anything in our database. It's incredibly weak but persistent. And the positional data suggests it's been there for at least 1 million cycles, perfectly static, perfectly silent until now." Lyra's antennae twitched, indicating a deep level of unease. "It's resonating with something, a deeper, older frequency than anything we've ever encountered." 1 million cycles. That was an eternity in galactic terms. The Coalition itself was barely 2,000 cycles old. Analysis? No discernible pattern, no known linguistic matrix, just a pulse. A whisper from time, Captain. The primary fleet dismisses it as a sensor ghost, a stellar anomaly, but there's something unique about its gravimetric signature. It feels structured, artificial. Xylos considered this. A sensor ghost was likely. Their systems were overtaxed, their ships damaged, their minds frayed, but a desperate VRIN was a dangerous VRIN. Set a course, Ensign, stealth approach, full deep space protocols. This is a long shot, but every long shot is worth taking if it means a chance against the Scourge. Commander Tail hesitated. Captain, the Council will demand your presence. Our sector command needs every available vessel for the defensive push on Vorlag Roman 4. Tell the Council I am pursuing a tactical anomaly that might yield a new countermeasure. If it's a ghost, we return. If not, well, then we have nothing left to lose, do we? Xylos's gaze swept over his bridge crew. Fear was palpable, but so was the grim determination to see this through. Maximum velocity. Silent running. Engage. The Vanguard Ascendant, a sleek silver blade against the void, peeled away from the desperate battle lines around Vorlag VI. Its jump drive engaged, shimmering energy engulfing the vessel as it leaped into the unknown, a faint hope against an overwhelming tide of destruction. 3 cycles later, the Vanguard Ascendant drifted through the cold, silent expanse of System 7 Alpha 9. No sun illuminated this forgotten corner of the galaxy, only the distant, diffused glow of nebulae. It was a barren system, devoid of planets, asteroids, or even a stellar nursery. Yet, Lyra's readings persisted. Approaching target signature, Captain, bearing 033, Mark 179. Range 5,000 kilometers, Tail reported, his voice hushed. Even he seemed affected by the profound stillness. On the main viewport, a colossal object slowly resolved from the Inkai blackness. It was not a starship, nor a station as they understood them. It was a massive, impossibly smooth construct, shaped like an elongated, multifaceted crystal several kilometers in length. Its surface, a dull, obsidian-like material, absorbed all light, making it seem like a tear in the fabric of space itself. There were no visible thrusters, no communication arrays, no weapon ports. It simply was. No energy signatures, Captain, no propulsion, no life signs. It's quiescent. Deactivated, Lyra whispered, her telepathic field radiating profound confusion. Yet it's emitting a pulse, Xylos countered, his eyes glued to the display. That pulse is what led us here. Scan for structural integrity. Any signs of damage, impact points? None, Captain. It's pristine, as if it materialized here moments ago, despite the age readings. Tail ran his scans again, his data pad flickering with conflicting information. The material composition is unprecedented. It's denser than collapsed star matter, yet seems to draw its internal stability from an unknown quantum field. Our scanners can barely penetrate its surface. Xylos ordered a closer approach, maintaining a respectful distance. This is not natural. This is artificial, ancient beyond measure. Who could build something like this? As the Vanguard Ascendant glided silently past one of the crystal's apexes, a faint hum reverberated through the ship's hull. On the viewport, a section of the obsidian surface, previously seamless, began to glow with a deep, internal azure light. The light pulsed, then solidified into an intricate pattern of geometric symbols, alien and elegant. Captain, energy signature detected. Localized to that glowing section. It's stabilizing, and the pulse is increasing in intensity, Lyra exclaimed, her antennae now vibrating with excitement. A moment later, a voice, deep and resonant, filled the bridge. It was not broadcast through their comms, but seemed to originate from within their very minds, a perfect translation rippling through their neural pathways. Query, identity of approaching vessel. Query, purpose of intrusion into sanctuary space. Query, status of primary directive, state parameters. The crew froze, an artificial intelligence, but unlike any they had ever encountered. Coalition AI was designed to be utilitarian, logical, subservient. This voice carried an ancient authority, an immense power that felt sentient. Xylos recovered first, forcing his voice to remain steady. "This is Captain Xylos of the Zenith Coalition vessel Vanguard Ascendant. We are on an exploratory mission. We detected an anomalous signal. We mean no harm." There was a pause, a vast, patient silence that stretched for eternities. Then the voice returned, its tone shifting, growing colder, more analytical. "Analysis complete. Hostile intent, negative. Threat assessment, minimal. Query, Zenith Coalition, not in primary database. Subquery, Galactic Powers. Draxian Empire, status unknown. Vorlag Hegemony, status unknown. Cathar Dominion, status unknown. Identity unknown species, origin Earth. Status dormant." Xylos's eyes widened. "Earth. Origin Earth. That's a myth, an ancient legend from pre-coalition times, a species of extreme environment adaptive said to have vanished 500,000 cycles ago after a great war." Correction, not myth, not vanished. Status, dormant. Identity, humanity. Query, knowledge of humanity's legacy, state parameters. "We know nothing. Only fragmented stories, whispers of a species that fought a devastating war against the Draxian Empire and perished alongside them." Xylos felt a surge of indignation. How dare this ancient machine dismiss their collective historical memory? Correction. Draxian Empire suffered systemic collapse. Humanity did not perish. Humanity enacted the Sanctuary Protocol. My designation is Guardian, a tertiary intelligence of the last fleet. My directive: maintain the Sanctuary Protocol until conditions are optimal for revival. Tails stared at the glowing crystal on the screen. A tertiary intelligence? How powerful is its primary? The fleet's primary intelligence is the collective consciousness of the fleet itself. I am a long-range sentry and archival unit, Guardian responded, as if hearing Tails' internal query. However, a new variable has entered the equation. My long-range sensors have detected the Chitin Scourge signature. Threat level, existential, priority override, activating secondary directive, query, Zenith Coalition, what is your understanding of the Chitin Scourge? Xylos's mind reeled. An ancient mythical species, not vanquished but dormant. A last fleet. And this Guardian AI with powers unknown was now identifying the very entity that was bringing his civilization to its knees. The Chitin Scourge is an unthinking, consuming biological weapon. It adapts to all forms of energy and matter. Our most powerful weapons are ineffective. Our fleets are being overwhelmed. We are facing total downfall. Xylos admitted. The shame of his species' predicament laid bare to this ancient entity. Affirmative. Analysis of your historical data and current combat parameters confirm your assessment. The Chitin Scourge is an apex-consuming entity. It possesses similarities to the endless swarm entity that humanity faced during the Great Silence era prior to the Draxian conflict. Humanity developed specific countermeasures, and the Fleet of Repose was built to ensure survival against such threats. Fleet of Repose, Xylos breathed. What do you mean? The Fleet of Repose is a full-spectrum defensive and offensive armada designed for long-term dormancy and rapid deployment. It constitutes humanity's final safeguard. It is not located in this system. This location is merely an activation beacon for emergency protocols. It is a conduit. The main fleet is situated within the star system designated by humanity as Sol, the system of your Earth. The bridge was utterly silent. Earth, the mythical homeworld, its sleeping inhabitants and a war fleet. My primary directive to maintain the Sanctuary Protocol is now in direct conflict with my secondary directive to counter existential threats. The Chitin Scourge meets the criteria for existential threat. Therefore, I require a decision from a sentient, sapient entity external to human programming. Query: Do you authorize the initiation of protocol, reawakening? Do you authorize the re-engagement of the last fleet against the Chitin Scourge threat? Xylos stared at the shimmering crystal, then back at the grim faces of his crew. The fate of the Zenith Coalition, perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on his choice. Trust this ancient, unfathomable power or face absolute annihilation. This was not a gamble. This was a plunge into an abyss of the unknown. "Captain," Tail prompted, his voice barely a whisper. "What do we do?" Xylos closed his eyes for a brief moment, the image of Vorlag VI burning in his mind. There was no choice, only a desperate hope. "Guardian," he said, his voice echoing across the silent bridge. "The Zenith Coalition authorizes protocol, reawakening, initiate." The azure light on the massive crystal pulsed, not with a hum, but with a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated through the very structure of the Vanguard Ascendant. The ancient AI's voice filled their minds once more, no longer cold or analytical, but with an undercurrent of something akin to anticipation. "Understood. Initiating protocol, reawakening. Fleet activation in T-72 standard cycles. Be advised, the return of humanity and its last fleet will fundamentally alter the galactic landscape. Prepare for profound change. Prepare for the reckoning." Then the crystal began to emit a powerful, concentrated beam of light, not towards the Vanguard Ascendant, but into the deep void, punching a hole through the fabric of space itself. A portal. A gateway to something ancient, something terrible, something magnificent. The faint pulse they had followed for so long became a roaring torrent of energy, and the Vanguard Ascendant was buffeted by unseen forces as the universe itself seemed to shudder. Xylos could only watch, his heart pounding a rhythm against his ribs he hadn't felt in cycles. The die was cast. The sleeping giants were stirring, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Vanguard Ascendant reeled, its internal structure groaning under the immense, unseen forces unleashed by the ancient crystal. The azure beam, a spear of pure energy, lanced out into the void, twisting the fabric of space into a shimmering, unstable vortex. Alarms blared, not of collision, but of energy overload. "Captain, the gravimetric stress on the hull is reaching critical levels," Commander Tail shouted, his crystalline carapace flickering with intense purple light, a sign of extreme duress. "Our structural integrity is failing." "Lyra, what is that?" Xylos demanded, gripping his command chair. The viewscreen showed a kaleidoscopic distortion, the stars stretching into impossible lines of light. Ensign Lyra, usually radiating a calm, focused aura, was broadcasting pure, unadulterated awe. "It's a hyperspatial conduit, Captain, an engineered wormhole. Our sensors can't even begin to process the energy throughput. It's pulling us in." "Do not resist, Captain Xylos." The Guardian's voice resonated directly in their minds, calm amidst the chaos. "The conduit is stable. It is the fastest path to Sol. Your vessel has been compensated for transit. Trust the parameters." Compensated? Xylos felt a violent lurch as the Vanguard Ascendant was abruptly enveloped by the shimmering tunnel. Outside, the distorted stars vanished, replaced by streaks of pure light and impossible colors. The ship's internal lights flickered, casting eerie shadows. The Vanguard Ascendant, built for speed and stealth, was now an unwilling passenger on a journey orchestrated by an ancient, unknowable power. Tail braced himself. "Velocity readings are off the charts, Captain. We're accelerating beyond anything in Coalition theory." "Shields up! Full power to dampeners!" Xylos ordered, though he knew it was futile. They were no longer in control. They were merely along for the ride. The tunnel seemed to stretch on for eons, a dizzying blur of quantum mechanics and raw energy. Then, as abruptly as it began, it ended. The Vanguard Ascendant was spat out into a system of staggering beauty and terrifying scale. A bright, yellow star, unlike the distant nebulae of System 7 Alpha 9, warmed the void. Planets of every color and size orbited in serene majesty. But it wasn't the celestial bodies that stole their breath. It was the fleet. Thousands upon thousands of vessels, arrayed in silent, perfect formation around the inner planets, filled Xylos's viewscreen. Not just warships, but colossal structures unlike anything in the Coalition's wildest dreams. Massive, ring-shaped platforms, kilometers across, bristled with dormant energy projectors. Gleaming, angular dreadnoughts, each easily dwarfing the Vanguard Ascendant, hung like slumbering predators. Smaller, more agile craft, elegant and deadly, formed geometric patterns between the larger vessels. The sheer mass of it was overwhelming. This was no static, forgotten ruin. This was a mobilized, dormant war machine. By the ancestors, Tail whispered, his optical sensors widening until they took up most of his face. This is the fleet of repose. Affirmative, Commander Tail, Guardian's voice echoed. This is the last fleet. The Sanctuary Protocol engaged here around the third stellar body designated Earth. Xylos stared at the third planet, a vibrant blue-green marble hanging in the distance, partially obscured by a colossal, shimmering orbital array that seemed to breathe with a faint energy signature. This was it. The mythical homeworld, the cradle of the extreme environment adaptives. No life signs on the fleet, Captain, Lyra reported, her mental voice a mix of wonder and trepidation. But the power readings, they're immense. Controlled. Every vessel, every platform is in a state of suspended readiness. The fleet is awakening, Guardian stated. Initial power-up protocols have commenced. Full activation will conclude within 72 standard cycles, as previously communicated. However, a localized threat has been detected. 3 Chitin Scourge scout vessels have entered this system via the trailing hyperspace lane. Xylos felt a chill deeper than the vacuum of space. Already, how could they find us so fast? Their adaptive capabilities are exceptional. Your vessel's signature, combined with the energy surge from the conduit, would have provided a powerful beacon. Their rate of approach indicates they will reach Earth's orbit within 2 standard cycles. 2 cycles, not 72. Guardian, we don't have that kind of time. The Scourge will consume Earth before the fleet is even fully operational. Xylos's mind raced. The Vanguard Ascendant was a scout vessel, armed only for defensive skirmishes. It was a fly against an armored beetle compared to the Coalition's main battle fleets, let alone the Scourge. Understood. The primary directive to counter existential threats takes precedence. Therefore, the Awakening Protocol will be accelerated for a strategic vanguard. Designation: Protocol Delta 7. This will initiate immediate revival for a limited number of essential personnel. Their vessels will be brought to operational readiness with extreme prejudice. Extreme prejudice. Xylos felt a knot tighten in his stomach. What did that mean for the humans? Captain Xylos, your assistance is required. Your vessel will serve as primary observation and communication hub for this initial phase. You will witness the first re-engagement. Proceed to coordinates Beta 9 Delta 7, Orbital Station Genesis Cradle. The coordinates appeared on their nav screens, leading them towards the colossal orbital array above Earth. It was not a battle station, but a sprawling complex of gleaming, interconnected structures, like an intricate crystalline flower blossoming in space. As they approached, a massive bay, easily large enough to swallow the Vanguard Ascendant whole, slid open silently. Inside, the bay was a cathedral of technology, vast and impeccably clean. Hundreds of smaller vessels, sleek and angular, hung suspended in maintenance cradles. Automated drones, silent and efficient, moved along predetermined paths. As the Vanguard Ascendant docked, the airlock extended, and a clear path was indicated. Proceed, Captain. Dr. Aris Thorne, head of the Sanctuary Protocol's Revival Division, will be among the first awakened. He will require immediate briefing on the current galactic situation. Xylos, Tail, and Lyra donned their environmental suits, though the Guardian had assured them the internal atmosphere was compatible. Stepping out of the Vanguard Ascendant, the sheer scale of the human facility was breathtaking. The corridors were wide, the ceilings high, designed for efficiency and long-term habitation. The silence was profound, broken only by the rhythmic hum of distant machinery. They followed the Guardian's mental directions through labyrinthine passages, past vast, empty recreation zones and dormant research labs. Finally, they arrived at a colossal chamber. Rows upon rows of transparent, coffin-like chambers stretched as far as the eye could see, each one containing a perfectly preserved human form suspended in a golden, shimmering fluid. The air was cool, sterile, and smelled faintly of ozone. "This is a primary revival sector," Guardian explained. "Due to Protocol Delta 7, only a select group of 500 individuals will be brought to full consciousness at this time. Their physical and neural pathways are being accelerated. The process will complete in approximately 1 standard hour." Xylos walked along the rows, peering into the chambers. The humans within were diverse in appearance, but all possessed a certain robust, resilient look. Their faces, though peaceful in sleep, conveyed a latent strength. "Extreme environment adaptives," he mused. The Coalition's xenobotanists had theorized that early humans had developed an unparalleled ability to thrive in harsh, unpredictable environments, from scorching deserts to frozen peaks, making them uniquely hardy. He now saw the evidence of that resilience etched into their very being. As the hour ticked by, the golden fluid in the chambers began to glow with increasing intensity, and soft, rhythmic pulses emanated from within. Monitors above each chamber, displaying complex biological data, flickered to life, showing rapid metabolic shifts. "Captain, their vital signs are stabilizing at waking levels," Lyra exclaimed, her telepathic aura radiating immense curiosity. "Their brains are showing complex neural activity. They are dreaming, perhaps." Just then, one of the chambers, centrally located, pulsed brighter than the rest. The fluid within began to drain rapidly, revealing a man of average height with a kind, intelligent face and receding dark hair. He was clad in a simple, form-fitting garment. As the fluid receded, the chamber lid hissed open, revealing clean air. The man's eyes slowly fluttered open. They were a deep, unsettling blue, and for a moment they held no recognition, only confusion. He blinked, inhaled deeply, then coughed, a dry, rasping sound. "Greetings, Dr. Thorne," Guardian's voice, now projected audibly within the chamber, broke the silence. "The Sanctuary Protocol has concluded. Welcome to the new era." The man, Dr. Thorne, pushed himself up, a hand going to his head. He looked around the vast chamber, his gaze sweeping over the rows of sleeping figures, then resting on Xylos and his crew. His eyes narrowed, not in fear, but in sharp assessment. He spoke, a series of guttural, clipped sounds unlike any Xylos had ever heard. "He is asking for an update on the Draxian threat," Guardian translated instantly. Xylos stepped forward, pulling back his environmental suit's faceplate, revealing his multifaceted eyes and Viren features. "Dr. Thorne, I am Captain Xylos of the Zenith Coalition. The Draxian Empire collapsed long ago, but a new threat has emerged, the Chitin Scourge." Dr. Thorne listened intently to Guardian's translation, his gaze unwavering. When Xylos finished, he spoke again, a torrent of questions, his voice still hoarse but gaining strength. "He is asking for a full tactical brief on the Chitin Scourge, its adaptive capabilities, and the current state of galactic defense," Guardian translated, then added, "and he wishes to know the exact duration of humanity's dormancy." Xylos exchanged a glance with Tail. "He wants a tactical brief, now." His specialized training required him to be ready for immediate threat assessment upon awakening, Guardian replied. "The duration of dormancy, 500,000 cycles." Guardian translated the number to Dr. Thorne. The human's eyes widened, a flicker of profound shock passing across his face. He swayed, and Xylos instinctively reached out a hand, but Thorne recovered, his jaw tightening. He took another deep breath, his blue eyes sweeping over the dormant chambers, then back to Xylos, a new resolve hardening his features. 500,000 cycles, Dr. Thorne murmured in a rough, ancient language which Guardian immediately translated. That's longer than we accounted for, but the threat is here. The scourge. He looked at Xylos. Captain Xylos, I understand you authorized protocol, reawakening. You have placed your trust in us. We will not squander it. Where is the nearest scourge contact? Xylos pointed to the tactical display that had materialized on a nearby console, showing the 3 approaching blips. 2 cycles to Earth orbit. Our ships are not equipped to face them. Dr. Thorne nodded. Understandable. Guardian, activate the Vanguard protocol, designate Valiant as primary asset, and begin transferring essential crew manifests to the primary tactical console. Vanguard protocol initiating. Asset Valiant designated primary, Guardian confirmed. Suddenly, the floor beneath them vibrated. A low, powerful thrum filled the chamber. Across the vast facility, automated arms extended, extracting ships from their cradles. The closest, a sleek, arrowhead-shaped vessel, gleamed as it was slowly moved towards a massive launch tube. These are the vessels for the awakened Vanguard, Guardian explained. They possess defensive and offensive capabilities far exceeding your current understanding. Their power systems are already at 80%. Remaining 20% will be reached during the flight to engagement. He means, as they fight, Tail whispered, clearly unnerved by the idea of a warship powering up while engaged in combat. More chambers opened, and other humans, mirroring Dr. Thorne's initial confusion and then steely resolve, emerged. They moved with a purpose, guided by Guardian's instructions, heading towards the newly activated ships. They were scientists, engineers, tacticians, the strategic minds, not frontline warriors. Yet they moved with the calm determination of those preparing for battle. Dr. Thorne, now moving with surprising agility, stepped to a console and began to rapidly input commands, his fingers blurring across the holographic interface. Guardian, begin passive scans for scourge biological signatures. Specifically, look for high-frequency neural dampeners and localized cellular accelerants. I want to know their current adaptive phase. Passive scans initiating, Guardian replied. However, Dr. Thorne, a new development. Our long-range sensors indicate a significant Chitin Scourge fleet just dropped out of hyperspace in the outer system. It is not the scout party, it is a full Vanguard detachment. Their approach vector suggests they were following the energy signature of the conduit, likely a main probing force. Xylos felt his breath catch. A full Vanguard? How many ships? Estimated 2,000 primary combat forms, accompanied by 6,000 smaller, agile units. Their arrival reduces the engagement window to half a standard cycle. Earth's planetary shield will not hold against such numbers. Dr. Thorne slammed his hand on the console, a rare display of raw emotion. Half a cycle. Guardian, what is the status of fleet power-up? 63% for the entire fleet of Repose. Protocol Delta 7 vessels, 95% operational. It's not enough, Xylos exclaimed. Even these Vanguard ships, powerful as they are, can't stop that many Scourge vessels alone. Dr. Thorne turned to Xylos, his blue eyes blazing with a fierce, ancient fire. Captain Xylos, you face an enemy that adapts to everything. Their chitin hardens against plasma, absorbs energy, regenerates from conventional damage. Their true strength lies not in brute force, but in their ability to learn. He paused, then pointed at his own head. Humanity fought them before, eons ago, in the endless swarm conflict. We learned that to defeat the Scourge, you cannot merely destroy their physical forms, you must disrupt their biological imperative, their very will to exist. How? Xylos asked, a glimmer of desperate hope igniting within him. Our ships aren't just designed for combat, Dr. Thorne explained, his voice low and intense. They are designed to project a specific counter-frequency, a resonance pattern that targets the core neural network of the Scourge's collective consciousness. It causes cellular disjunction, a total system collapse. It's not a weapon of destruction, Captain, it's a biological disruptor, and the Valiant-class ships are equipped with the most advanced iteration of this technology. He looked at the tactical display, the thousands of incoming Scourge blips. But even with that, it requires precise targeting. And the Scourge has learned to adapt to these frequencies over time, developing resistance. We'd need the full might of the last fleet to overwhelm them, and we don't have the time. Suddenly, the floor beneath them vibrated with a different, deeper hum. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a vast, dark hangar bay where the arrowhead-shaped Valiant was now fully prepped, its engines glowing with a soft, internal light. Humans, already in specialized combat suits, were boarding through multiple access ramps. Dr. Thorne turned to Xylos. Captain, the Vanguard Ascendant has been designated as primary observation. Guardian will provide you with full tactical readouts. Witness what humanity has prepared for, and pray to your ancestors that it is enough. Then Dr. Thorne, his face grim but resolute, turned and sprinted towards the Valiant. He was not a warrior, but he moved with the determined stride of someone facing an inevitable, terrible, and necessary fight. Outside, the first wave of Scourge vessels, shimmering organic horrors, pierced the outer defense lines of the Sol system. They were faster than anything the Coalition had encountered, their movements fluid and terrifying. The Valiant, a lone spear of hope, undocked from the Genesis cradle, its sleek form cutting a swift path towards the incoming horde. The voice of Guardian filled the Vanguard Ascendant's bridge, projected across the comms, no longer calm but with a subtle, rising intensity. Warning: Scourge primary Vanguard engaging outer planetary defenses. Estimated time to planetary shield breach, T-3 minutes. Xylos stared at the viewport. The Valiant, a single, impossibly small craft, hurtling towards an unimaginable tide of monstrous chitin and biological fury. And somewhere, still sleeping, were billions more of these extreme environment adaptives, waiting for a dawn that might never come. The first clash was about to begin. The galaxy was holding its breath. The Valiant, a sleek arrowhead of obsidian and light, erupted from the Genesis cradle's launch tube, accelerating with a preternatural grace that defied its mass. It was a single, silent blade against the encroaching tempest. On the Vanguard Ascendant's bridge, Captain Xylos, Commander Tail, and Ensign Lyra watched, transfixed, as the tactical display populated with thousands of crimson blips, the Chitin Scourge Vanguard converging on the Sol system. "Guardian, give us a full tactical overlay," Xylos commanded, his voice strained. The viewport shifted, superimposing a real-time analysis onto the visual. The Scourge forms were horrifyingly efficient, moving with a synchronized, predatory hunger. Their leading elements, colossal organic mechanical cruisers, pulsed with an inner, sickly green light as they tore through asteroid fields, absorbing the raw material. Scourge Vanguard maintaining optimal combat formation. Guardian's voice resonated through the bridge, devoid of emotion, yet its very calm felt like a pronouncement of doom. Their adaptive bioshields are at peak efficacy. Planetary shield integrity of Earth, degrading at 15% per minute under simulated saturation fire. Simulated? Tail questioned, his crystalline carapace flashing in agitation. They haven't even reached the shield yet. The Scourge's Vanguard employs long-range bioprojectors, Guardian explained. Their primary function is to soften targets, inducing cellular degradation and structural weakening before direct engagement. Earth's planetary shield is already under duress. The Valiant was now a mere speck, hurtling towards the immense Scourge formation. It didn't open fire immediately. Instead, as it drew closer, it began to emit a complex, multi-frequency pulse. It was silent, invisible, but Xylos felt it like a hum deep in his bones, a vibration resonating with the very fabric of existence. Then the Scourge Vanguard reacted. It wasn't an explosion, not a burst of plasma. It was something far more unnerving. The leading organic cruisers, massive and terrifying, shuddered. Their sickly green internal light flickered, then dimmed. Their chitinous plating, moments ago impenetrable, began to ripple, like water disturbed by an unseen force. Then they simply ceased. One by one, the vast living vessels froze, their momentum dying. Their forms began to warp, not from external force, but from within. Fibrous strands, once rapidly regenerating, spasmed, then withered. The sleek, predatory lines of the Scourge twisted into grotesque, broken caricatures of their former selves. They weren't exploding, they were disintegrating, not from physical force, but from a fundamental collapse of their very being. By the ancestors, Tail gasped, his optical sensors dilated to their fullest. What is that? The biological disruptor, Guardian stated. A counter-frequency designed to target the core neural network of the Scourge collective. It induces cellular disjunction and systemic collapse. The Valiant-class vessels incorporate its most advanced iteration. The Valiant continued its charge, unleashing a barrage of these invisible waves. Dozens, then hundreds of Scourge vessels shuddered, faltered, and then collapsed into inert, decaying matter. The space around the Valiant was becoming a graveyard of broken biomachines. It was an appalling display of power, unlike anything Xylos had ever witnessed. It was not violence, it was surgical extinction. "They're not even firing weapons," Lyra exclaimed, her telepathic aura radiating a mix of horror and exhilaration. "They're just unwriting them from existence." But the Scourge was not an unthinking swarm. Even as their vanguard crumbled, Xylos noticed a subtle shift. New forms began to emerge from the rear of the Scourge formation, smaller, more angular vessels that seemed to absorb the decaying matter of their fallen comrades. Their outer plating began to pulse with a faint, crimson glow. "Warning. Scourge adaptation detected," Guardian announced. "They are generating a localized resonance-dampening field. The efficacy of the biological disruptor is decreasing." On the tactical display, the rate of Scourge collapse slowed. The Valiant's silent waves still caused damage, but the new, crimson-pulsing vessels were resisting, their forms only spasming, not breaking apart. Then the Scourge returned fire. Not with absorption beams or plasma lances, but with a torrent of organic projectiles, hardened chitin shards, propelled at terrifying velocity. The Valiant, caught in the sudden barrage, glowed with impact points. Its shields flared, struggling to absorb the impact. "Captain, the Valiant is taking heavy damage," Tail shouted. "Its shield integrity is at 70% and dropping fast." Xylos watched, his heart hammering. Dr. Thorne, the scientist, was at the helm of this single vessel facing thousands. This wasn't the way the Coalition fought. They relied on overwhelming numbers, disciplined formations. This was a duel. A fight for survival against an enemy that learned faster than any known species. Inside the Valiant, a holographic display flickered to life on Xylos's screen, showing Dr. Thorne, his face grim, working frantically at a console. Other awakened humans, their expressions equally intense, were manipulating their own stations, their fingers blurring across interfaces. They weren't just reacting, they were analyzing. "Scourge dampening field frequency identified," Dr. Thorne's voice, relayed by Guardian, cut through the comms. His voice, still rough, was laced with an almost frantic energy. Their primary resistance is in the gamma-delta spectrum, modifying disruptor output to counteroscillate. Guardian, initiate phase synchronization across all activated Valiant subsystems. Calculate for multi-harmonic resonance. Acknowledged. Phase synchronization initiating, Guardian replied. The Valiant shuddered violently as a volley of chitin shards slammed into its hull, making the Vanguard Ascendant's bridge tremble from the sheer force. The Valiant's shields flickered, dropping to 50%. Then the Valiant changed. It didn't fire weapons. Instead, its entire hull began to shimmer with an internal azure light, pulsing with a rhythm that was no longer simple but maddeningly complex. And the invisible waves it emitted shifted. This time, there was no immediate, visible effect on the scourge. For a terrifying moment, Xylos thought it had failed. The crimson-pulsing scourge vessels continued their relentless assault, their projectiles hammering the Valiant. The ship groaned under the strain, its shield integrity plummeting to 30%. "They're going to be overrun," Tail cried out. "Captain, we have to—" "Wait," Lyra interrupted, her telepathic aura now a confused tangle. "Something's happening. Their internal biosignatures, they're becoming unstable." The crimson-pulsing scourge vessels, the ones that had adapted, now began to glow with a faint, internal blue light. It was a terrifying mirror of the Valiant's own energy signature. Then, the blue light intensified, flowing through the scourge forms like wildfire, culminating in the heart of each vessel. And they burst, not with fire or shrapnel, but with a silent, catastrophic internal implosion. The chitinous plating collapsed inward, the organic mass compressed to dust, and the vessels simply crumpled into nothingness, leaving behind only swirling motes of cosmic debris. "They used their own adaptation against them," Xylos breathed, utterly stunned. "They turned their dampening field into a resonator." "Correct, Captain Xylos," Guardian confirmed. "Humanity's biological disruptor technology is not merely an emission, but a parasitic resonance. It exploits the target's own biological and energetic pathways, turning their defenses into their downfall. The Scourge's attempts to dampen the initial frequency inadvertently created a perfect conduit for a secondary, more destructive harmonic. Dr. Thorne adapted the disruptor's output in real time. The Valiant, though heavily battered, pressed its advantage. The remaining Scourge Vanguard, now without its adaptive elements, was rapidly overwhelmed. In less than a standard minute, the 2,000 primary combat forms and 6,000 smaller units were reduced to scattered fragments, a testament to a strategic brilliance Xylos hadn't known was possible. They won," Tail whispered, disbelief heavy in his voice. "One ship against a vanguard of thousands." The Valiant, its azure glow dimming, drifted among the wreckage, its shields barely holding. A message from Dr. Thorne appeared on Xylos's console. His face was streaked with what looked like sweat, and he was breathing heavily, but a grim satisfaction shone in his eyes. "Captain Xylos," Dr. Thorne's voice came through, weary but clear. "Report, Scourge Vanguard eliminated, losses, minimal to the Valiant primary, significant hull damage. Request, immediate triage and assessment for our vessel. The Scourge learned, but we learned faster this time." "Understood, Dr. Thorne," Xylos replied, his own voice hoarse with adrenaline. "We will provide all assistance." "Incredible work, Doctor, truly incredible." Just as a fragile sense of relief began to settle over the Vanguard Ascendant's bridge, Guardian's voice cut through the air, sharper, more urgent than before. "Warning. New threat signature detected. Orders of magnitude greater than previous contact. A full Scourge main fleet has just dropped out of hyperspace on the outer rim of the Sol system. Estimated 200,000 primary combat forms, accompanied by an unknown number of smaller vessels. Their trajectory is direct towards Earth. Planetary shield integrity will not withstand a concentrated assault of this magnitude." Xylos felt the blood drain from his multifaceted eyes. 200,000. The Vanguard had been a mere probing force. This was the hammer. No, Tail murmured, his carapace flashing black with despair. It's too much. The fleet of repose, it's not ready. Correct, Commander Tail, Guardian confirmed, its voice a chilling pronouncement. The main fleet's power-up is only at 65%. Only 37 Valiant-class vessels and 1 Fortress-class battle station are at 90% operational readiness. They are insufficient to engage the incoming fleet. Dr. Thorne's holographic image reappeared, his eyes wide with a sudden, dawning horror as Guardian's words translated. He looked at the vast tactical map, the new, overwhelming wave of crimson blips. Guardian, Thorne demanded, his voice strained. What is the estimated time to first contact for the main Scourge fleet with Earth's planetary shield? T-6 standard hours, Guardian replied. 6 hours. For the entire galaxy, it felt like a lifetime. For Earth, for humanity, it was a death knell. The Valiant, battered but victorious, was a single, defiant beacon in an ocean of incoming doom. What now, Guardian? Xylos asked, the question a desperate plea. What can we possibly do against that? There was a pause, a brief, profound silence from the ancient AI. Then, Guardian's voice filled the bridge, carrying a cold, strategic calculation that sent shivers down Xylos's spine. The primary objective remains the protection of Earth and the dormant human population. Therefore, an immediate counter-strategy is being formulated. It will require maximum integration of all available assets. Captain Xylos, your vessel will be instrumental in the next phase. Dr. Thorne, prepare for extreme, high-risk maneuvers. The screen flickered, showing the vast, slumbering human fleet in orbit around Earth. Only a few lights glowed within the thousands of silent vessels. The Valiant, a lone hero, was barely clinging to life, and the full might of the Chitin Scourge was bearing down on them. The gamble had paid off, but the true stakes were now revealed. The awakening was incomplete, the defenders few, and the enemy was legion. Earth, the mythical cradle, was about to become a battleground, not for its reawakened inhabitants, but for the very possibility of their future. The Vanguard Ascendant's bridge was a tableau of frozen despair. 200,000 crimson blips swarmed the tactical display, an incoming tide of biological horror. Dr. Thorne's holographic image on the console conveyed a dawning understanding of impossible odds. What now, Guardian? Captain Xylos's question was raw, stripped of rank or protocol, a desperate plea into the void. There was a profound silence from the ancient AI. It was not hesitation, Xylos realized, but calculation on a scale that dwarfed the V-Rin's collective consciousness. Then, Guardian's voice, cold and precise, filled the bridge. The primary objective remains the protection of Earth and the dormant human population. Therefore, an immediate counter-strategy is being formulated. It will require maximum integration of all available assets. Captain Xylos, your vessel will be instrumental in the next phase. Dr. Thorne, prepare for extreme, high-risk maneuvers. Dr. Thorne, his face grim, nodded to the AI's unseen presence. Understood, Guardian. Give me the parameters. Affirmative. Dr. Thorne, the Valiant-class vessels are insufficient in number to engage a fleet of this magnitude directly, even with the enhanced biological disruptor. Their regeneration capabilities will outpace localized disjunction. Therefore, a new approach is necessary. We must disrupt the Scourge's collective neural network, rather than individual units. How do you do that? Xylos interjected. They're an organic swarm. There's no central command hub we can target. Their command hub, Captain Xylos, is distributed throughout their primary combat forms, acting as a decentralized, self-healing network, Guardian explained. However, this network operates on a specific, complex bioelectrical frequency. Humanity, through millennia of prior engagement with similar entities, developed a countermeasure, the Resonance Cascade Protocol. Resonance Cascade, Commander Tail repeated, his multifaceted eyes wide with apprehension. It is a technique that projects a massive, system-wide counterfrequency, designed not to destroy, but to induce a chaotic, self-destructive feedback loop within the Scourge's distributed neural network, Guardian elucidated. Think of it as introducing an unresolvable logical paradox into their collective mind. It causes complete biological disjunction across a vast area, irrespective of their adaptive bioshields. A logic bomb for a biological entity, Lyra murmured, her antennae twitching with fascinated horror. Precisely. However, the energy requirements for a system-wide resonance cascade are immense. The full fleet of Repose at 65% power cannot generate it. Even if it could, a direct, unfiltered projection would cause severe bioelectrical interference across the entire system, potentially harming Earth's atmosphere and the dormant humans within their chambers. So it's impossible. Xylos felt the hope draining from him. Not impossible, Dr. Thorne said, his voice gaining a sudden, fierce intensity. Just extremely precise. Guardian, can we route the necessary power through the planetary shield emitters? Theoretical possibility, Dr. Thorne, Guardian replied. The planetary shield itself is a massive energy conduit. If reconfigured, it could serve as a gigantic projector for the resonance cascade. However, this would temporarily disable the shield, leaving Earth vulnerable. Additionally, a direct link from the Guardian core to the shield emitters would be required. It is an immense, untested energy transfer. Vulnerable for how long? Tail asked, dreading the answer. Estimated time for full resonance cascade projection, 3 standard minutes, Guardian stated. During this period, Earth would be unprotected. The Scourge's main fleet would reach the atmosphere within 2 minutes of the shield deactivation. A silent countdown to planetary devastation. 2 minutes of vulnerability. 2 minutes for humanity's cradle to be consumed. That's a death sentence. Xylos slammed his fist on the console. We barely survived a few hundred projectiles, let alone 200,000. Dr. Thorne turned to Xylos, his blue eyes holding a desperate plea. Captain, we have to try. This is our only chance. The Valiant-class vessels will form a defensive perimeter, a last line of physical resistance to buy those 3 minutes. They will sacrifice themselves if necessary. Xylos looked at the Valiant on the tactical display, a lonely, battered symbol of defiance. It was a suicide mission for the reawakened humans. Captain Xylos, Guardian's voice cut in, its tone shifting subtly as if acknowledging the immense sacrifice. Your role will be critical. The Scourge fleet is accompanied by Nexus-class command vessels. These vessels, though not conventional command centers, are vital for maintaining the coherence of their vast numbers and adapting to new threats. They act as anchors for the collective mind. Destroying them, even a few, would momentarily disrupt their cohesion, buying the Valiant vessels precious seconds. We're a scout ship, Guardian, Xylos protested. We don't have the firepower for a direct engagement with their command vessels. Indeed. Your vessel's stealth capabilities, however, are exceptional. The Nexus forms are embedded deep within the Scourge formation, relying on their numbers for protection. They are also highly resistant to the biological disruptor due to their concentrated neural activity. A direct, localized physical strike is the only way. Your vessel is fast, maneuverable, and stealthy. You must infiltrate their formation, identify and destroy as many Nexus vessels as possible before the cascade initiates. Xylos stared at the display. Infiltrate a fleet of 200,000 vessels. It was insane. And when do we do this? Xylos asked, his voice low. Now, Guardian replied. The Scourge fleet will be within optimal range for the resonance cascade in T-5 hours. You must be in position and commence your strike within the next 2 hours. Dr. Thorne nodded. It's the only way, Captain. Distract them, fragment their thought process, buy us those crucial seconds. My team will be ready. His hologram faded, replaced by the grim reality of the encroaching crimson tide. Prepare for immediate departure, Xylos ordered, his voice suddenly sharp with renewed purpose. Fear was still a cold hand in his gut, but it was now laced with a Virin's grim resolve. Tail, Lyra, plot the stealthiest approach vector. We're going in. The Vanguard Ascendant, its advanced stealth systems pushed to their absolute limits, ghosted through the outer reaches of the Sol system. The Scourge main fleet was an utterly terrifying sight. It spanned millions of kilometers, a seemingly endless tapestry of organic machinery, its advance a slow, inexorable consumption of anything in its path. The faint green glow of bioprojectors pulsed from within the horde, already degrading the distant Earth's planetary shield. Captain, we are now inside the Scourge's forward scout screen, Tail whispered, his optical sensors flickering wildly. Detecting thousands of smaller, agile units. They haven't detected us yet, but their sensor sweep patterns are tightening. Lyra, have you identified any Nexus vessels? Xylos asked, his gaze fixed on the main view screen, trying to discern individual ships in the swirling mass. Affirmative, Captain, Lyra replied, her telepathic aura a tight knot of concentration. Scattered deep within the primary formations, they emit a unique, low-frequency psionic signature, a sort of binding resonance that holds the fleet together. I've marked 8 distinct locations. They are well defended. 8, Xylos mused. We'll target as many as we can before the cascade. Tail, bring us in for a high-speed pass. Lyra, target solutions for our energy torpedoes. Focus fire on the Nexus vessels. Don't miss. The Vanguard Ascendant plunged deeper into the heart of the Scourge fleet. The sheer alienness of it was overwhelming. Organic hulls pulsed with internal light, tendrils of biomatter extended and retracted, and the very void seemed to hum with their alien life. They were moving through a living, evolving, expanding entity. Engaging, Captain? Tail's voice was clipped as he executed a daring evasive maneuver, barely avoiding a passing, colossal Scourge cruiser. Torpedoes away, Lyra shouted. Twin streaks of white-hot energy lanced out from the Vanguard Ascendant's hidden launchers, punching through the organic mass. The first Nexus vessel, a squat, bulbous form embedded within a cluster of attack craft, didn't explode. Instead, it convulsed, its internal light flickering wildly. The surrounding Scourge units faltered, their movements becoming erratic, confused. It was a momentary disruption, but it was there. Direct hit! Nexus 1 disrupted, Lyra cried, exhilaration breaking through her tension. Good, prepare for evasive. They're reacting, Xylos ordered. Suddenly, the space around them became a storm of chitinous projectiles. The Scourge, disturbed from its unified advance, was lashing out. The Vanguard Ascendant screamed through the void, its shields blazing as impacts hammered its hull. Shields at 60%, Tail reported, his movements fluid, pushing the scout ship to its limits. Lyra, target Nexus 2, give me a clean shot. They danced a deadly ballet through the Scourge armada, a tiny needle in a monstrous haystack. Each successful strike on a Nexus vessel sent ripples of confusion through the immediate enemy formation, buying crucial seconds. But the Scourge was learning. Its attacks grew more coordinated, its internal sensor network adapting to their evasive patterns. Nexus 5 neutralized, Lyra reported, her voice breathless. But Captain, they're converging. We have multiple lock-ons. Shields at 30%. Structural integrity failing in dorsal section, Tail shouted. On the main tactical display, the remaining Nexus vessels glowed, warning Xylos that time was running out. They had destroyed 5. 3 more remained. Suddenly, Guardian's voice resonated through their minds, sharper, more urgent. Captain Xylos, Dr. Thorne indicates resonance cascade initiation in T-1 minute. You must disengage. You are at extreme risk of being caught in the cascade. Negative, Guardian, Xylos snarled, his gaze fixed on Nexus 6, a heavily defended target. Not until we've neutralized at least 6. A colossal scourge dreadnought, unseen until now, emerged from the roiling mass, its single, massive biocannon already charging. A sickly green energy gathered at its maw. Captain, a Harbinger class, primary weapon lock. We won't survive a direct hit, Tail cried out. Lyra, last torpedoes on Nexus 6. Now, Xylos bellowed. The Vanguard Ascendant screamed past the Harbinger's charging weapon. 2 more torpedoes streaked out, slamming into Nexus 6. It shuddered, its internal light dying. 6 neutralized, Lyra gasped. Disengage, Captain. Immediate disengage, Guardian commanded, its voice now tinged with an unprecedented urgency. Cascade initiation in 45 seconds. Hard turn, Tail. Evasive pattern, Omega, Xylos roared, pulling back hard on his controls. The Vanguard Ascendant twisted, barely escaping the devastating blast from the Harbinger, the edge of the energy wave scorching their already failing shields. Shields at 10%, hull breach in engineering. We're losing power. Tail frantically worked his console. 30 seconds, Guardian's voice. Xylos looked at Lyra. Her face was pale, but her eyes held a defiant fire. He looked at Tail, his crystalline form shimmering with effort, pushing their scout ship to the breaking point. They had done their part. Guardian, Xylos said, his voice ragged. We're going to try to jump out. Wish us luck. Luck is irrelevant. Calculations are not. Your vessel's position is still within optimal cascade parameters. Evacuation protocol initiated for Vanguard Ascendant crew. A localized teleportation field has been established. Brace for transport. What? Xylos started, but he had no time to finish. A blinding flash of light enveloped the bridge. Xylos, Tail, and Lyra materialized abruptly on the observation deck of the Genesis Cradle orbital station, moments later. Around them, Dr. Thorne and the other reawakened humans stood grim-faced, watching the main tactical display. Captain Xylos, Dr. Thorne greeted them, a nod of respect in his eyes. You made it, just in time. Xylos looked out the massive panoramic viewport. Earth, a beautiful blue-green jewel, hung before them, and above it the planetary shield shimmered, but the shimmer was fading. Resonance cascade initiation in T-10 seconds, Guardian announced, its voice now echoing through the entire station, loud enough to feel in their chests. Planetary shield deactivation in T-5 seconds. A wave of dread swept through the observation deck. The shield! Earth! The planetary shield above Earth flickered, then vanished. The beautiful planet was utterly exposed, a vulnerable target for the 200,000 Scourge vessels now just hours away. Cascade initiating, Guardian proclaimed. From the very heart of Earth, a blinding wave of azure energy pulsed outwards. It wasn't a destructive beam, but a pure, expanding sphere of light that pulsed with maddening complexity. It swept through the Sol system, encompassing the vast, incoming Scourge fleet. The effect was instantaneous and absolute. The 200,000 crimson blips on the tactical display didn't explode. They didn't burn. They simply ceased. It began with the furthest ships, vast organic monstrosities that suddenly shuddered, their internal green light flickering, then turning a violent, chaotic crimson, before collapsing inwards as if crushed by an invisible hand. The effect spread like a biological virus. Ship after ship, entire formations of the terrifying Chitin Scourge began to unravel. Their chitinous plating, once so resilient, cracked and flaked away into dust. Their internal structures, designed for regeneration, pulsed, spasmed, then withered into inert matter. The colossal harbingers, the agile hunter forms, the consuming drones, all of them, they just fell apart. The space where the Scourge fleet had been was not filled with debris, but with a fine, shimmering dust, particles of what had once been a terrifying, universe-ending entity. It was as if they had never existed. The terrifying roar of their advance was replaced by profound, ringing silence. On the tactical display, the 200,000 crimson blips vanished in a single, devastating wave, replaced by empty space. The Scourge fleet, an existential threat to the entire galaxy, had been utterly and irrevocably negated. The entire Genesis Cradle station was silent. Xylos, Tail, and Lyra stood motionless, their multifaceted eyes wide with a comprehension too vast to process. Dr. Thorne and the awakened humans, though grim-faced, showed a flicker of satisfaction, a silent, hard-won victory. "Resonance cascade complete," Guardian's voice announced, its tone now calm, almost triumphant. "Planetary shield reactivation commencing. The threat has been neutralized. The Fleet of Repose will now complete full power-up protocols as a precaution. Expected completion, 60 standard hours." Xylos finally found his voice, a raw, strangled sound. They just ceased to exist. How?" Dr. Thorne, though exhausted, stepped forward. The Scourge's strength was its distributed intelligence, its adaptability. The resonance cascade is designed to turn that strength into their ultimate weakness. It forces their entire collective network into an unresolvable logical paradox, a biofeedback loop that overloads every single cell. It's not destruction, Captain Xylos, it's dissolution. They unravel themselves from the inside out. He looked out at the peaceful void where moments ago an apocalypse had loomed. It requires an immense amount of energy and precise targeting, but once initiated, it's absolute. It's why we had to be so careful with the shield and with your mission. Any error could have destabilized the cascade, or worse, harmed Earth itself. You developed this against similar threats before?" Xylos asked, barely able to fathom the scale of such an accomplishment. Dr. Thorne nodded. "During the Endless Swarm conflict, centuries before the Draxian War, we learned that sheer firepower was futile. You can't outbrute a self-replicating biological imperative. You have to understand its fundamental nature and exploit it. Humanity learned, evolved, and adapted." He turned to Xylos, a weary smile touching his lips. "And now, thanks to your courage, Captain, that knowledge has saved not just Earth, but perhaps your coalition as well." Xylos looked at the reactivated planetary shield, shining with benevolent light around Earth. He looked at the vast, dormant human fleet, now slowly coming online, vessel by vessel. He looked at Dr. Thorne, the scientist who had just, with a single ship and an ancient AI, shattered an entire galactic threat. The Zenith Coalition had thought they were advanced, intelligent, peaceful. They had been reduced to cowering, running from a foe they couldn't comprehend. Humanity, these extreme environment adaptives, had faced something similar eons ago, gone to sleep, and woken up to solve the problem with an elegance and finality that defied belief. "We have much to learn from you, Dr. Thorne," Xylos said, a profound respect in his voice, "and much to discuss. The Zenith Coalition owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid." Dr. Thorne merely nodded, his gaze returning to the serene Earth. "Humanity does not seek debt, Captain, only a place in a peaceful galaxy. Our priority now is the full revival of our people, and then rebuilding. We have 500,000 years of lost history to catch up on." He paused, a flicker of something new in his eyes. "And perhaps, Captain Xylos, we can also teach you how to adapt. Because the universe, as humanity learned long ago, always has new challenges waiting. But when species stand together, when they learn and innovate beyond their fears, there is no challenge that cannot be overcome." As the days turned into weeks, the Fleet of Repose hummed with renewed life. More humans awakened, each revival a small miracle. The Zenith Coalition, having witnessed the sheer, uncompromising might of human intellect and their unique tactics, had shifted from fear to profound respect. Diplomatic teams from across the coalition converged on the Sol system, eager to learn, to negotiate, to understand. Earth, after 500,000 years, was finally ready to welcome its children home. The sleeping war fleet, built for destruction but used for defense, had fulfilled its ultimate purpose, guarding humanity's second chance. And as the first transport began their gentle descent to the vibrant blue-green surface, a new chapter for the galaxy began. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors but as ancient guardians, a testament to resilience and a living, breathing proof that even in the face of absolute extinction, life and ingenuity finds a way. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed. Humanity, heck yeah.